milestone in '63. East and West banned the testing of nuclear weapons in the atmosphere. The leading nuclear powers met in Moscow in July.
In the middle of the 20th century, when the world felt like it could tip into irrational violence at any moment, governments made desperate plans to defend themselves. They recruited spies, built secret bases, and they tried to weaponize the human mind. This is the story of a program so secretive and so ethically hollow that, when it finally came to light, Americans had to ask, how far did those in power go in the name of national security? April 1953. The Cold War was in full swing. Fear of Soviet mind control techniques and the possibility of POW brainwashing drove U.S. intelligence into a new obsession. Could the state learn to control thought itself? The CIA greenlit a secret program, one that would run for decades in the shadows. The program was given a deceptively clinical name, Project MK Ultra. But what began as an intelligence experiment quickly ballooned into one of the darkest chapters of American research. Scientists, doctors, hospitals, universities, even the unsuspecting public were swept into a covert network of studies aimed at controlling behavior. MK Ultra tested a terrifyingly broad toolkit: LSD and other psychoactive drugs, sensory deprivation, hypnosis, electroshock, sleep deprivation, and more. Some research sought to break a person's sense of self. Other tests tried to create agents who could be controlled during interrogation. Often, these experiments were performed without informed consent. Prison inmates, psychiatric patients, soldiers, and ordinary citizens, people at every rung of society, found themselves dosed or tested without knowing the true purpose. One of the most haunting episodes linked to MK Ultra is the death of Frank Olson. Olson was a U.S. Army biochemist working on biological warfare research. In November 1953, after being covertly dosed with LSD by colleagues during a gathering, he fell to his death from a New York hotel window 9 days later. The agency called it suicide. Later inquiries raised deep questions. Did the LSD experience trigger a psychotic episode, or was something more sinister at work? Decades of investigation, lawsuits, and a public reckoning would show Olson's death was a pivotal and painful symbol of how far the program's secrecy and moral bankruptcy went. MK Ultra was not a single lab in Langley. It funded more than 100 sub-projects across the United States and Canada, at universities, hospitals, prisons, and private companies. The CIA used front organizations and third-party contracts to mask its involvement. Some participating institutions knew the source of funding. Many did not. Imagine a respected university lab running behavior experiments, not knowing a foreign intelligence agency had slipped in funding and a hidden agenda. Ethical lines, already blurry in mid-century research, were erased entirely in many of these undertakings. Officially, the goals were framed in national security terms: understand their enemy, create tools to resist brainwashing, develop aggressive interrogation techniques, and, if possible, produce controllable agents. The idea of mind control promised tactical advantage in a world defined by espionage, but the methods tested often had no clear ethical or scientific grounding. Rather than rigorous, peer-reviewed psychology, the experiments could be harrowing and haphazard, treating human subjects as test tubes. By the early 1970s, the scandals of intelligence agencies were bubbling to the surface. Watergate, illegal domestic spying, and growing suspicion of secret operations. In 1973, with inquiries looming, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of MKUltra files. The directive gutted the documentary trail and made a full accounting impossible. Yet, the story did not disappear. A small cache of documents survived, misfiled and later uncovered through Freedom of Information Act requests. Those surviving papers, together with witness testimony, were enough to spark congressional investigations that would horrify the nation. In 1975, the Church Committee and the Rockefeller Commission exposed a pattern of illegal domestic CIA activities, and MKUltra stood out. Senators grilled intelligence officials. For the first time in public, Americans learned that their government had experimented on their own citizens, sometimes without consent. The hearings didn't answer every question. The destruction of records made that impossible, but they documented enough abuse, the unethical dosing, the secrecy, the cavalier attitude toward human life, to change how the nation viewed oversight of intelligence programs. Beyond memos and hearings were people. Some never fully regained their psychological health after drugging. Prisoners and psychiatric patients were used as subjects with little recourse. Families, like that of Frank Olson, spent decades pursuing answers and justice. The true tragedy is not just policy failure, it's the human damage. People's trust in medicine and government was broken, and for many, the scars lasted generations. LSD became MKUltra's emblem. The CIA believed a powerful hallucinogen might break down resistance or make people more suggestible. Hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and sleep manipulation were tested as well. But in the end, the science didn't deliver a reliable mind control switch. What it did deliver were catastrophic violations of human dignity. The program revealed a haunting lesson. Experimenting on minds without consent doesn't produce heroes or weapons, it produces trauma, scandal, and long-term institutional shame. After the public uproar in the 1970s, reforms followed. Congressional oversight of intelligence agencies increased. The MKUltra revelations became a cautionary tale in research ethics, one repeated in medical schools and congressional hearings for decades. Even today, historians and journalists keep uncovering documents and testimony, and scholarship continues to add nuance to the story. In 2024-2025, archival releases and scholarship have kept MKUltra in the public eye, reframing how we understand both Cold War paranoia and institutional wrongdoing. MKUltra shows us how fear, even fear of an external threat, can corrode moral judgment. It's a blunt reminder that when transparency breaks down, power can be used to dehumanize. The program didn't create super soldiers or perfect interrogations. It created victims, cover-ups, and an ethical crisis that still echoes. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, and remember, history's secrets are sometimes darker than fiction. See you next time.